So there's actually another natural form like the Dunelm one over the back and the top. So that actually is right in the Pennines. So you've got three. You've got not one, not two, but three, and then there are actually more. But the thing is, I think the actual other long barrows are actually based on these natural form things. And the thing is that Castle Hill, I think, is more man-shaped than natural. But I actually do believe that, well, if there was water over there, maybe the other one was shared by water. I've taken some photos of it, I'll show you. There's always been this stupid stone there, and it's been there a long time. It says cock crowing stone, but they've written it so it looks like cock crowing stone or cock growing stone. Bit of both. I think it's meant to be some sort of symbolic thing about magic mushrooms or the dolmens or whatever, but we haven't got any. So I think they actually were some up here, but that's been there a lot of years. I'm going to go actually have a walk up there now, so I've never actually been up there. So like the Meltham Cop thing, there is actually another one over the middle, because we had to go past it and turn around, and I didn't actually know that. Other people will know it. But I actually think the long barrows were based on these things. So I'm actually up here now. And these actual stones are really, really huge. There's loads of little places of shelter as well. They can shelter. There aren't any little stones around here, but saying that, there aren't any little stones at the sites in Ireland. There's a stupid trick point over there. It's almost like putting a little tower on. Okay, it's for ordnance survey, but it's another excuse to put a tower on. There's a lot of this plants that grow up here. So that's the other form that I didn't really know about. It's probably not the best place to build cairns, I think, to be honest. Over the top. We know there was some sort of Roman settlement over going out towards Slithwaite, as well as that slack one. So there's the Dunelm Meltham Cop, and there's Castle Hill that's been made into a hill fort. So these actually, that makes these become significant to the order and to the religion and to the peoples. And there's the other long one, which I kind of didn't really know about, although because I'm not really into walking on the tops. And this over the top of here, on those old prehistoric maps, which actually people go walking up here wouldn't have actually seen that map, I don't think, because it's then when it goes down you get all these large areas of lake and water that used to be there. So that would have been in some water by the looks of it. It actually would have been in water, and it actually looks to have, there's where people go walking up it. It's quite a way over there, those fields. Kind of a little bit of a day's walk, that. And that's smooth on the top. And I don't think it'll only be from the weather. So that actually is be interesting to go and have a look at it. But there's not really anything nice around it to look at. It almost is actually, with that surrounding kind of circle shape around it, It actually almost is like a magnetic needle inside, you know, inside if you float it in water. But the only thing is, the magnetic pole now is way over that way. And actually, you know, it could have been that the magnetic pole really far that way back in time. They could have reshaped Castle Hill to point towards it, but I think these symbolise more of a natural wind shape and erosion from the wind and weather, you know. And it's going with, it's actually not necessarily sort of going with this force or that force to do with magnetic or necessarily even the sun, but going with the force that nature, the natural wind and the natural movements, the natural motions of the actual earth itself all combine together and create these shapes. You know, obviously if they were made out of metal, or if they'd formed from small pieces of metal, then they might all align with more of a magnetic alignment, but so I hadn't actually seen that one before. I wonder if there are lots and lots of these. It is kind of like a sort of classic shape, but the fact that it's been utilised into the actual river system and the hills around it, I think it is significant. It's as significant as Bruna Boyne, because like these are natural formed, whereas the others are completely human made and they're round. So maybe there were some curtains up here, maybe there weren't. Maybe with all this long grass. But that just adds another. That adds another now. All the people go walking up on here. There's that myth about the Lancaster crash, Lancaster bomber up here, which is all the bits of it are still strewn around. Which it apparently didn't have it only just made it back when it crashed on the moors on the way back to Lancaster. All you know, I think personally I think they crashed it on purpose. You know. So actually 3 giant long barrows and the hill fort. The 3 giant long barrows and the hill fort is significant, definitely. And that one's bigger. Should have known about that, but I'm not a person who comes walking up here really. And I spent most of my life driving around looking at other places. Going all to the main sites, the main places. And you definitely know about those because they tell you everything about them in the write-ups. If these are the other sites, right, that haven't got building on them, and if they were connected with and used for other people's before, Castle Hill is the one that's got occupation on it. But you know, why that cafe? If these two are going to be left nice and untouched, why don't Castle Hill have like a Celtic village on it? And not the cafe, but without modern stuff. Not a Celtic village that has, you know, modern things on it, because that ruins the whole atmosphere of it. It's a shame that the design ideas of Kirklees Council are like that. And they've just gone and they're starting to ruin Armoury Village now, and it's the full of the shops and the businesses. And the fact they put houses on the other hill fort as well. You see, it's like at Uffington, you know, why don't they have a cafe on the hill fort? Or at Wayland, so they've got Wayland Smithy, and they've got Dragon Hill, and they've got the White Horse, and they've got the camp, and it's all kept in nice condition. It's not like, oh yeah, we'll put a cafe, you know, in the camp, or we'll put a cafe on the Wayland Smithy. It's like it's all kept in good order and nicely maintained. And it's what it's meant to be like. But they just don't have that here, and I don't know why that is. They don't have that care, or it's just all absolute overspill of building, and I think it's a local building. It's all to do with money and greed. Actually, there are some smaller states here. Someone's kind of built a stone house there, like a little building near where the tree point is. So this is what it's like up here. Maybe we'll never know if there are any cairns up here or not, or maybe they didn't need any. But I thought with those 3 long barrow mounds, I would have thought there'd have been quite a lot up here. And if they were, they might have even made more effort to pull them to pieces. So you're not going to do anything to that other than take off it if there's a settlement on it. I need to go to Ireland. Can't believe I didn't go look at cairns. Someone has made a little stone building, but it's more of a modern one. It's like a little farm building. No, I think I had seen that before, come to think about it now, but I think I've forgotten about it. And actually the road goes, one of the roads goes straight past it. So actually I think I did know about it. It would have had water around it if those lake maps are right. You see things like Arthur's stone, even when they ripped its bits and there was just the stones left, it was just the stones that were letting you know that there was something there. There's quite a few over there, some scattered ones. You see, there's so many stones here now that if any of them were stacked up like that, Dormans, then all you need to do is take one off, and then you wouldn't be able to know that it was before, because they're all kind of mixed in with the other ones. It's almost kind of like with the long barrows, with the giant long barrows, with all these stones strewn around on the top freely open. It's almost now thinking of those dolmens like Herefordshire, sorry. And the other ones, when it's stripped down, what they're made out of, it's almost like, you know, they're made out of everything's come from here. when you've got the river flowing on, and then we've got the one hill fort, and then we've got the other these three long barrows here. God knows how many more now, but there aren't loads and loads of those exactly like that. Not in this formation, and then actually figured into it with use. And then the other side has been smoothed out. I know that there are, you know, like there's a Pembrokeshire Hills, which is, you know, where they got Stonehenge stones originally from, which is kind of similar to, in a way it's similar to this. Now they took those over to Stonehenge all the way from there. It's almost like something, you know, something also coming from here as well. You know, if we were supplying things to certain place, not unlike when they're supplying flint from Worthing. You know, like something coming from Pembrokeshire. It's kind of a little bit of a contributed effort from all around the nation, and they were saying that there were other things contributed from Scotland as well, actually. Somebody's been walking over there and they're just coming back now. Actually, I've got a friend who, I know someone who used to go walking all over it. This is the only place they used to go walking. They were obsessed with walking over the whole of the Pennines, all the different walks. Although I kind of preferred, to be honest, if you want to go for a picturesque walk, I kind of used to like it down in Shropshire, you know, on the A49, straight in around there. Those hills are just big, all kind of lush greenery around. That stone's on top there, and that one. I think maybe it is more. There's no doubt about it for those long barrows, you know, there's no doubt about those smaller sized long barrows being connected with this area and these bigger ones. This guy says that that's called Pule Hill. That's the name of it. Pule Hill. Yeah, so we definitely got 3 big long barrows now. So, you know, not everyone in Huddersfield even knows that. I think now I've come up here, it sort of brought it back out of my memory, but even I'd forgotten about that. I had seen it now, I remember seeing it, but not when I was that interested into English heritage sites, and not when I was investigating these sites and trying to find out more about them. I'd forgotten about that. There is a little dolmen looking thing there that's kind of facing out, which is quite cute, but it's not an actual one, I don't think, green there, but there's a stone that makes it look like that, which is kind of quite, it's got a character to it. Another thing about it here is this, right, that when you're at this side here, right, you can see the Dunelm place and you can see Castle Hill. And if you're just over the ridge, well, where I am now, but walk a little tiny bit that way, not even for a couple of minutes or two, then you can see the other barrow. Now, when I was saying about taking attention slightly away from things like they're done with those trees down by the other hill fort thing, they've got Last in the Summer Wine. There was a television programme all over Murfield called Last of the Summer Wine, and Unferth's just over there. So it's Unferth. This West Nab, where I am now, is associated with Meltham, and then the other place where there's a parking place at the top by that mast there, over the ridge, is Unferth. Now they have the antics of those guys up and around Unferth, but you don't really see these sites and mounds, and it's almost a little bit like draw attention here, but away from this, so it's not recognised for that, it's recognised for something else. But it sort of gives this, you know, Last of the Summer Wine you know, as in some sort of giving alms or giving sacrament or something, you know, because you've got, in religion, you've got the holy wine, so again, it's slightly drawing attention away. You see, to me, I still think that with those other two long barrow things now, even looking from over here at Castle Hill, right, look at, I mean, there's those two forms there, but they've been made out of the things around them, and it's the way that it goes there, even if you take the farming into consideration, right, it comes straight across the Castle Hill, and then the other side is pretty much the same gradient. It just looks like it's been built up. It's just got that built up type of look to it, and I know it's got the plants growing on it now. It just seems like it's got that kind of, and the place where it is there, see, all around here, I know the land all goes a certain way and stuff, but it just seems that if erosion was taking place in certain directions, it just seems that that area there would be flat, but if there is geological features inside it which make it robust, and that ends up staying there and all the side bits get ripped away, worn away, and fair enough, like Dunelm. But that one, it looks a bit like a copy of the other two. See, we get this stupid cock crowing stern. It's almost as if, you know, the royals paid someone to go put it there. I mean, or else who else did it? If anyone knows who in Huddersfield painted that from Meltham or Home Firth, then let me know. A specific person. If not, you know, looks like more vandalism. Actually, when I got Liberty caps, I actually got them from this field here, this side of the road. When I came and got some actual Liberty caps, because you used to be able to get those kits anyway from Cubensis, those massive ones you could get anyway, just get the kit and grow it at home, so didn't actually need to get native Semelenica ones, the little ones. But this is where they are, quite a lot of them. Not saying they don't grow even in Oxford on a normal playing field at sea level, but you do get a hell of a lot of substantial volume increase up here. So actually was at West Nab. It'd have been cool to go over to the side of that Dunelm place, into those fields down along the side of it. You see, I don't even know if once you get to a certain height, you can't really get as many. It's kind of this like middle sort of ground here. And if there was water over the back and that other one was surrounded in water, that is even more interesting. So I can't believe that I kind of like wasn't aware of that, although I have seen it in the past, but kind of forgot about it. You want to say, oh, it's just a smooth hill and so is the other one, you know, no one's ever even been on there, it's just been like left there permanently. Just look at the ones in Scotland. They've got all these like hill forts out in the middle of nowhere, right high up in places. And you know, who could be bothered walking up there, even living up there, you know, and then actually bringing water up and down and food and that, but they're there. So there must have been people there. It took ages to build them, and those are clearly man-made and shaped. Now that Dragon Hill at Uffington is just smooth now. There's nothing on there and no signs of anything on there, but clearly it was a centre of mass activity, a major site in England at the time. So when I look at this now, even though it is a natural geological feature that they must have used for symbolically revered, right, then it's going to be a little bit like Dragon Hill now. I mean, who's pointing out every single roundhouse hut or whatever they had on there, even if it was a Scout Hill? And they've got the long barrow, they've got a long barrow there, Whelan Smithy. So it's connected to this place by long barrows, by long barrow form. So the people who like Whelan Smithy and the people who like Uffington should really care about our site having a cafe put on it, you know. Should want to help protect it. not saying anything's better or whatever, but the thing is, they've still got their sites. They haven't been pulled to bits. You know, ours has been vandalised, and the fact that the river comes on, you know, the Humber comes on, not unlike the river at, you know, in Ireland that goes past Swords in Kells to Newgrange. It's a very similar type of setup in the sense of on placing the island. I'm actually starting to doubt whether or not there were cairns up there, because they might not have needed them. Cairns might have been more of a smaller type of place that was more of a homage and place of smaller local chapels around the islands, obviously in you know, part of the order. Whereas this is different. It's more like it's very there's 3 massive long barrows and a 4th hill fort. There's something wrong with someone, and then they put houses on top of them, and it's meant to be the Brighouse. But, you know, it's there are things you can do for the local people to make them feel better, like have it nice to look at. You know, it's kind of different. There's something being, you know, and Imperial Chemical Industries involvement, and the mast. Oh yeah, I hadn't really showed this in any videos yet, because I hadn't been concentrating on the mast. And the mast, well, there's 2 of them now, because there's a temporary one. I don't know if nobody's wanting to sign it. I don't know if they're blocking me on social media so people don't see it, people don't want to help. When I walk around the streets and I speak to random people, when I'm going around like Honley and I speak to a gentleman, like, you know, an old lad, and I'm like, oh, what do you reckon about that stupid cafe on Castle Hill, or, you know, do you like, he goes, oh yeah, are you doing a petition? I goes, well no, I said to him, I'm doing a petition, and he's like, oh right, well, he goes, I don't go on the internet, I don't know anything about the internet, I don't, you know, where to sign it. And he's right friendly with me in that when you go on the groups and post it, like the Home Faith photos or whatever, you get like 3 or 4 likes, and I don't know if someone's hacking it and they're like making it not visible, or if people just don't like me or whatever, but they do in person. When I go to Honley and I'm walking up the road and I'm like, you know, what are you up to? So, like, old lad walking down, he's like, oh yeah, you know, petition. He goes, oh, I don't know how to sign. And I goes, well, I'm not doing it on paper, or else I'd give you a pen and you could sign. I goes, it's on the internet. And he's like, oh right, well I don't really know how to do it. So how many people are there like that around Huddersfield that you could probably get your 12,000 signatures, but you have to walk and knock on every door? And when you start doing that, councillors start panicking because you're doing something in opposition to what they want to do, and then they pick up the phone and they get on the phone to Tony Earnshaw and they go, ooh, ooh, someone's trying to stop his project, you know, you better get him banged in newspaper and, you know, knock him down a peg or 2, because, you know, or else, you know, we're not going to do is get his new traffic light set in Armonbury and write the village off. You know, and we have the planning permission for that new co-op that's been moved. I went to the headquarters in Leeds, and I said, all right, don't ruin that building, because there's a really like nice old pub on the main road with all the other old buildings, and it's got like an old metal railing. I'm like, don't take that down, it's part of the building. And now they've banged that up. They forgot there's going to be more traffic in Armonbury now, so we're going to have to put loads more Pelican crossing and traffic lights up. And they banged traffic lights up. There was nothing wrong with it there. It's the look of it. There's a right old row of houses and an old water trough. It's like the last bit of beauty in the old village, right? In all of Huddersfield, what the media centre hasn't destroyed. And now they've got banging set traffic lights there. It looks terrible. And that's because of that new co-op being allowed to be moved, planning permission. And no one actually objected to it, because I was going up there at the time, all the time on the bus walking past it, because I was taking photos of the police box, and there were no planning notice on there, else they objected, because I like that building. And the next thing, it's got JP Wild up all over it, and I went in to see him in Leeds in person. I've been in there twice. And I actually said to him, I goes, look, don't take that railing down. They've left the railing up, they've built around it, but the way they've designed it around it, it's terrible. And now, why don't the council say, right, JP Wild is going, and they're going to do up their co-op, and they're going to move it bigger. That is going to bring more people in, right? It's going to bring more people in, and we're going to have to absolutely cover the town centre in traffic lights and everything, and it's not going to be quite quaint anymore. So if you want to put an objection in now, there's not this little scratty note on the side of the wall here. You need to be aware of what is actually happening to you before we turn you into the media centre. We've actually got some pigs here, look. The little piggies! Hello, little piggies! Hello! Hello, you're so friendly. Hello. I haven't got any food. Hello. Hello, piggies. Hello. Hello. Oh. Wow, look at this pig. Looks like a bear. Looks like he's been overeating and they've been feeding him too much food. He shouldn't be so fat. He's like a bear. I think they've overfed him loads of food. Like, let's fatten them up. And that's what people eat them for, the fat, the juicy fats. It looks a bit upset and sad. I think he's been fed up really fat. Look at him. The thing with these long barrow type structures that are geological, if it's harder earth and if it's just resilient to the weather on one side, and that's where kind of it catches at this end, then why is it not rocky at that end, you know? Why is it just grass and smooth? That's what I want to know. Would be interested to hear the actual geological explanation from. And that one's really straight on the top, and actually so is the other one over the back, the third one as well. It's a beautiful pub, that Swan, and the flower box, little flower shop there, but it doesn't half exactly block off the view of West Nab across there. If they'd have built it lower, or if they'd have built that big bit at that side and that side, that bit at the other side, you'd have been able to actually see West Nab properly. Front village, which, you know, it's strange that you'd do that.